Good morning, everyone. Choosing a person to lead our police department is one of the most consequential decisions I've had to make as our mayor. I'm acutely aware of the long-term impact this choice will have, not just on the officers who wear the badge, but on every neighborhood and with every resident in Pensacola. Before I introduce our next leader of the Pensacola Police Department, I want to thank the interview panel for their tireless effort. I want to extend my deep gratitude to the members of our public, our business, our faith, and law enforcement communities who shared their feedback throughout this process. I especially want to thank Chief Kristen Brown. We owe her a debt of gratitude for her dedicated service and her steady hand during this transition. Chief Brown holds a special place in our city's history as the first woman to ever lead the Pensacola Police Department. Her trailblazing leadership set a high standard, and we're incredibly grateful for her commitment. Chief Brown, thank you. We were fortunate to have excellent candidates from both inside and outside the department. I want to recognize Eric Goss. Eric is an outstanding individual with deep ties to this community. I want to state clearly how much I respect his years of dedicated service to this city and the integrity he has shown throughout his career. I'm very grateful that he remains a vital leader within our ranks, and I'm personally excited for Eric's future and the continued impact he will have in this department. In this search, I was focused on a specific need: proven administrative leadership and a track record of departmental excellence. With that in mind, I'm proud to announce that I've chosen Eric Winstrom to lead the Pensacola Police Department. Pending council approval, he will begin his service on March 2nd. Eric's career is defined by his ability to lead through normal days and not so normal ones. Over 21 years at the Chicago Police Department, Eric rose to the rank of commander in one of the world's most demanding environments. He guided tactical and investigative teams through some of the department's most challenging periods, focusing on modernization and professional standards. And as chief in Grand Rapids, Michigan's second largest city, he came in as an external candidate to lead nearly 400 employees. He earned a reputation for entering a department as an external hire and immediately focusing on high-level recruitment, training, and accountability, all while effectively reducing crime. What makes Eric the right fit for this moment is his specific experience coming into a new community as chief and building a successful culture. He has a proven body of work navigating tragedy and complex legal challenges, but just as importantly, he knows how to build a team by listening to the officers on the ground. I know Chief Winstrom and I share two important expectations. First and foremost is to meet our wonderful PPD officers where they are. He understands the obligation to earn the trust of this department and this community, and he's committed to doing so. Secondly, and just as important, we share the mission to provide clarity and foster a healthy, communicative culture for the men and women of PPD. Chief Winstrom is currently in the process of moving his wife and two children here to Pensacola. I know the city will welcome them with open arms. So, Chief, on behalf of the city of Pensacola, welcome to the team. We're excited to bring your experience and your vision for positive change to our community. We look forward to working alongside you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Boy, so many people to thank, but I'll start by thanking all the community members. Echo Mayor Reeves' comments about the extensive panels that were held, the people that were very much engaged, and you can tell that this community cares very much about the direction of the city, about the direction of the police department. Want to thank the police officers. As you may or may not know, you can probably guess, police officers have a tendency to be a little bit cynical and a little bit skeptical, and trust for police because of everything that we go through in our career and everything we see. You have to earn that trust. I recognize the passion of the police officers, the care they have for the city, the care they have for the department, and the care they have for their coworkers very much. And the worst thing that could be is if I came here a few weeks ago for the interviews and there was apathy in the police department. But I met the police department, met a lot of the officers, a lot of the professional staff, and you could say they are very passionate about making sure that the next chief cares as deeply as they do. And I just want to confirm, I care as much as they do. I care very much about the city. I care very much about the police department and very much about the men and women who work there. So finally, I'll say, well, not finally, because I got one other person to thank, but I want to thank Mayor Reeves for placing his trust in me. I've told him, and I'll tell you, I will not let you down. I will be the hardest working employee of the city. I'll definitely be the hardest working member of the police department. So big thanks to the mayor, and most importantly, thank you to my wife Rachel and my son Connor and my daughter Molly, who have been on this journey with us. We're extremely excited to make this, which is a wonderful city, their home. And I was just asking in a radio interview, what does success look like for me as a police chief? And I say success for me is going to look like when my kids are looking to enter the workforce, looking to start a family of their own, and that they look at and they say that I want to stay right here in Pensacola. And the police department success is tied hand in hand with the success of the overall city. Super excited to be a part of this. A great honor. Thank you so much. All right. Yeah, we'll take any questions for myself or Chief Winstrom.
It seems based on what the mayor said that you spent a majority of your life in Chicago, Michigan area. So I guess why come south?
Why come south so much? Well, it's not just about coming south. You know, I don't mind the cold so much. When I got in the car yesterday to go to the airport, it was 14 degrees and there's a foot of snow on the ground. It's tough to leave that, but it's but that's not the only reason. I really don't mind the cold weather. There's something special going on in Pensacola. A lot of times when you're living in the city or when you're working in a police department, you don't quite understand the reputation that city or police department has outside in other places. And when this job posted and this opportunity came up, thinking about Pensacola is a city that's progressing. It's advancing. It's becoming that city that is beckoning people. That, like I said about my kids, this is a place that we want to make our forever home, and we want everybody to feel that way. But it's doing it in a way that's very responsible, where it's looking to lift everyone up together. There's a lot of talk. I met with a large group of church clergy. We talked a lot about gentrification and growing a city ethically. And this is a city, you look out the window here and see some of the construction going on. It's a city that's growing, but it's doing it in an ethical way. All of that is tied directly to policing, protecting people from theft, protecting people from violence. The success of a police department. Show me a successful police department and you'll see a successful city. You never see the other way around. You don't look anywhere in the United States and see a failed police department, but a city that people want to move to. It just doesn't work that way. So a great opportunity to be a successful police chief in a great city. This is just, it's not all about the weather. That's just icing on the cake.
And just a follow-up question for you. I'm guessing you've had your chance to kind of go through the department and kind of lead everyone. What changes do you plan to bring here that you might have, like, what do you plan to bring from Michigan to Pensacola?
Well, what I'm bringing is just my experience dealing with all the challenges. I'm bringing my wife and my two kids with me. But as far as changes, I'm going to tell you, any changes will be done responsibly. It'll be done for the good of the city, for the good of the department. I have met a lot of the people in the police department. I have not met every single person. I look forward to doing that. I also look forward to meeting everyone in the community and really hearing what sort of police department the city wants, because the city's entitled to be policed in a way that a city wants to be policed. So what I'm going to bring in the immediate time is my thirst for knowledge and to thoroughly understand all aspects of the police department and see what we can do better.
I'm Jim Little with the Pensacola News Journal.
Hi, Jim.
The previous chief left after basically surveys kind of found like a loss of confidence in his leadership. Entering as an external candidate, what kind of things are you going to do to get the confidence of the rank and file?
First thing, we're going to do away with these surveys that I've heard about altogether. Look, there's no magic wand for trust, for a chief to get trust. I know staffing is a challenge across the country. We turned it around in the city where I currently am police chief, and how we did that was just the very basic understanding that our police officers are our best recruiters. You can have a great recruiting strategy. You can have all the technology to reach people in social media world, but if your officers don't love their job, don't love this city, don't want to come to work, you're never going to fill those vacant spots. So, and that goes hand in hand with morale. So really, success of the police department is tied to those surveys. So that's just a fact. You're not going to have a successful police department if you don't have a happy workforce. So that's something that will be a primary focus, because I know it's what I'm going to need to succeed.
Chief, Tanner Stewart, WEAR.
Hi, Tanner.
Talk about the obligation to earn that trust. When you were in Grand Rapids, are there specific issues there that you feel like are parallel to your role here, whether that be gun crimes or drugs, homelessness, or whatever? Are there specific issues that you look forward to tackling here that you feel the city could address?
All of those, and since I'm new, I haven't been able to really get that. I had some initial conversations with the leadership team this morning about those specific crime challenges. We talked about gun violence. We talked about fraud. We talked about our unhoused community. That was a big, I'll just touch on that. As far as my experience in Grand Rapids, we had a very large unhoused community in Grand Rapids who the city was turning to the police department for solutions. And we as police will be the first to acknowledge, even though we always answer the call at 3 a.m. in the morning, if you need something, 911 is always going to answer. So unfortunately, throughout really the country, whether it comes to dealings with our unhoused community, mental health crisis, et cetera, oftentimes police have been the default button. And that's not fair to the police, but recognizing that, and how we found success in the city of Grand Rapids was having a police department that would advocate and say, look, we will decouple housing status with criminal behavior. Of course, we're going to impact this criminal behavior as best that we can, but we recognize that there's got to be more people to bring into the challenge of our unhoused community to make sure. And it's not even looking at criminal activity being created in the unhoused community. There's a statistically so much higher level of domestic violence with individuals who are unhoused, human trafficking with individuals who they're not able to lock a door that causes all sorts of issues. So it all impacts the police, but the police aren't always the solution. So sometimes just being the chief that's going to stand up and say, look, I'm going to recognize that we are not always the right answer to every problem, but I'm willing to stand shoulder and shoulder with the people who are working diligently to make the city a better place and support them in every way I can.
Chief, John Sigley.
Hi, John.
In Grand Rapids, do you have any experience with the 287G protocols, Homeland Security, with regards to ICE and ICE operations? Did you have any experience with that?
We weren't in a 287 and aren't currently in a 287G agreement. I'm very familiar with what you're saying. We do have federal partners. Grand Rapids, like the mayor said, is the second biggest city in Michigan, and it's on the opposite side of the state from Detroit, so it's the center of West Michigan culture and certainly government. So the U.S. Attorney is just a couple blocks away. We have an ICE office, ATF, FBI, IRS. We work very closely with our federal partners and appreciate the work that they do. Since I anticipate a potential ICE follow-up question here, I'll just say I think I said I have already said it. A city's entitled to be policed in a way that a city wants to be policed. My current city has no interest in immigration enforcement. As I said, if you walk into the Grand Rapids Police Department lobby today and say, I have evidence that Eric Winstrom cheated on his taxes, we will refer you to the IRS, because that's not what we do. And the city of Grand Rapids has decided that we're not going to do immigration enforcement. Certainly when ICE calls because of a dangerous situation, we absolutely respond. We have a very good relationship with all our federal law enforcement partners, and the safety of everyone involved on both sides of the equation are paramount to us. So we have a great working relationship, but we don't actually engage in a 287G agreement.
Stepping into a 287G agreement with Pensacola Police, do you have any thoughts on how that will work, or are you just going to depend on the existing protocols that are in place?
I will. We have in Grand Rapids currently an agreement with the ATF, currently with the FBI, currently with the DEA. So very familiar with those type of agreements. On federal task force, that's more of a hot button issue just because of the political aspect of it, but it will not be a challenge at all.
What specifically lead Grand Rapids? What made your decision
Well, I'll put it this way. I'm not running away from Grand Rapids. I am running to Pensacola. That's it. Yeah, Grand Rapids is a great city. I'm going back to work on Friday there. I'll tell them to their face that they're a great city. They really are. It's a wonderful place. There comes a time in a police chief's career too, when I was an outsider there. I inherited a police department that was really, really struggling, and the city was thirsting for big changes, big reforms, and I sort of had this, this giant challenge in front of me from the city manager who was fortunate, who believed in me and said, "I think you can do this." And to be blunt, we did it. That police department is 180 degrees different from where we started it. We have filled every budgeted vacancy. We have grown the size of the police department. We have reduced crime enormously. We have made huge strides in protecting our homeless population. And it just seems like the right time. Sometimes you got to go out on top. Hi, Hannah.
You feel gave you that extra push?
I've actually spoke to both candidates. Brian Dugan from Tampa and I have been texting back and forth. He reached out to congratulate me. Super qualified. Eric Goss, just met with him this morning. Super qualified. He's got a lot of institutional knowledge, which I'm going to rely on in my job. I think if you just look at it from an experience point of view, that I've done this exact job. A lot of this feels like deja vu to me. When I was hired in the city of Grand Rapids, I was an outsider. I was facing an internal candidate. Even though they're only about 3 hours away, I had a lot of, we don't want a guy from Chicago. This is Grand Rapids. We have nothing to do with Chicago. This is totally different. They're on the other side of the lake. It's like I said, it feels like deja vu. Been through that before, and dealt with all these challenges. So I think if you're just going to say, not one of us is better or worse, just the experience that I bring of entering as an outsider and working to make a police department as good as it can possibly be. But two great candidates, and I'm sure they've got great careers ahead of them, and I think a lasting friendship with me and both of them.
Chief, what would be your message to an officer or anyone inside the department that raised that issue to you, that you're an outsider?
Who did? No, I'm kidding.
What's your message to those that you question?
Here's my message. I get it. I get it. I was a young police officer myself, and Chicago has a bunch of different units, so I was constantly working for new bosses. But we had outside superintendents in Chicago, is what they call the leader of the police department. I worked for a boss from the NYPD. I worked for a boss from the LAPD. I worked for a boss from the Dallas Police Department. All outsiders who had a different perspective, and all of them were met with skepticism by me because they were strangers. So I'm just going to say, I get it. Keep an open mind. I know that I have to earn your trust, and I'm going to work extremely hard. And it's not just the police department. There's others in the community too who I think would have been more comfortable with somebody from inside the community. So my message to both the skeptical police officer and the skeptical resident of the city of Pensacola, I get it, and I'm going to earn that trust.
Chief, during the panel interviews, you talked about a little how you came into the career law enforcement. Can you kind of recap that, and how does that inform the way you approach policing and the way you try to build trust with the community?
I think maybe you're talking about the story I told about my brother when I was 11 years old. My brother went to prison for selling a very small amount of cocaine. I'm not a fan of illegal narcotics. I know some people say that it's a victimless crime, but if you've ever had a loved one who overdosed it and died, if you ever have violence outside of where your kids are playing because of the drug trade, it's not a victimless crime. But having said that, 11-year-old me loved my brother. He's a reason, unfortunately, that I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. So, but I love him. I still love him to this day. He's been sober for over 30 years. And so that love, and I saw the devastation that his imprisonment had on my mom. And it just gave me a different perspective. And it let me understand, too, that my circumstances were different. I had an older brother to see the mistakes that he made and to change how I was moving forward. So really, when I'm on the street as a patrol officer, it's there before the grace of God go I, whether I'm dealing with someone who I'm putting handcuffs on, whether I'm talking to someone who does not have a house to go home to, that empathy that comes from having loved ones in your life who've gone through things. And something I tell all the new police officers that I hire early on is that you'll be a success if you just respond to every incident like you're responding to how you would want a police officer to respond to your mom's house, to a loved one's house. And it hasn't always been that way. We are a profession that 25 years ago, you were more likely to feel like you had an occupying army policing you. And that's a culture change that we had to shift. So just that experience and that empathy, I think, is important, but you don't have to live it to get it. You can read about it, you can understand it. One other thing, when I know I haven't made any hiring decisions here yet, but we can train you how to be a very good police officer, but we cannot train you to have very good character. So what I will be looking for when I make those hiring decisions is we'll be hiring for character. We know we have I spoke to a training lieutenant today. We know we have an excellent system in place in the Pensacola Police Department. And we're going to give them great candidates, but we're going to get good people because that's what the city deserves.
Chief, question about surveillance technology in general. Shot spotter, red light cameras, license plate readers. How do you, as chief, or maybe in your past experience, but going forward, how do you balance civil liberties with surveillance technology?
You got to balance them. I mean, you gave the answer right there. It is a balance. I mean, everybody that in this room probably has a cell phone in their pocket, and you are being surveilled. And it's a decision that people made that I'm okay to have this device which can track all of my location, listen to my conversations, et cetera. It's a different world today than it was 25 years ago when I started being a police officer. So you mentioned, did you mention flock cameras? Flock cameras are something that's very interesting. Flock cameras are extremely helpful in investigating crimes, but there's also ways that you can take away some private information from the system to protect the public, so that it doesn't take a picture of the driver, for example, that it doesn't retain the information for too long. But I know myself, when we're investigating a homicide and we have a description of the stolen car which traveled a certain direction, you're never going to pin that car onto the vehicle's owner because that's not the shooter. But now you know the direction it fled, and maybe you saw where it was dumped. And maybe, to tell you from flock cameras, a homicide investigation I had in Chicago, we tracked a stolen vehicle. It had shot a young man, and about an hour before it was involved in that murder, the individual had pulled up. We figured this out through flock cameras, pulled up to a Dairy Queen drive-through without a ski mask and we had a perfect crystal clear picture of him eating an ice cream cone. And that same car in the same outfit was then seen when he had a ski mask on coming in, and we got him charged and convicted of murder. So super effective tool, but there's got to be a balance there. That's the same thing. You want to talk about any of the other?
Shot spotter.
ShotSpotter is a great technology. ShotSpotter, essentially what it boils down to, it tells you where bullets are coming out of guns. That's it. That's all it says. And that is a very important data point for a police department to have, especially if you are in a challenged neighborhood or a neighborhood that maybe doesn't have the best relationship with the police, that they're hesitant to call 911. Because I can tell you myself personally, I've responded to ShotSpotter complaints and found an individual who was struck by bullets and in need of medical attention prior to anyone calling 911. And that's a challenge that Chicago's going through now, as they were, either throwing away their contract or doing it. I get the politics of it too. It's could we use that money for other things? But if there are bullets if there are children being shot in your city, ShotSpotter is an extremely effective and good technology.
Mayor,
Yeah, sure.
what made you want to go with an external?
Well, I entered this process not looking at internal or external anything. What we look for is the best person most fit for the job today. And I can certainly say with conviction that Chief Winstrom is that. You're fully aware, and certainly all of you in the media have covered what has taken place, what our expectation in the last year, what our expectations are. And so I did not prescribe to the definitions of internal or external. If you're an internal candidate, certainly there's value of knowing the community, knowing the same way there's value in having experience. It's just a matter of priority. And I think in this particular moment in our police department, that having where we found ourselves not only with the departure of a chief, but an unforeseen retirement of a deputy chief, we found ourselves in a position where we lacked, just in this moment, we really lacked that organizational leadership depth. But the thing I'm probably most excited about long term is we have amazing people ready to build that bench. Look, I feel like if Chief Winstrom does his job and I do my job, we should, for the foreseeable future, be a high-performing department of which we would continue to rotate in and promote from within. There's no better symbol of high performance than having people ready to go and to be able to go into those roles. And so that has nothing to do with an internal candidate. It's just about what we prioritize as the key need for our department at this particular moment.
Mayor, what's your message to people not to change the new police chief, downtown's getting renovated, about like kind of good things to come? What should we excited about?
Well, my message to them is that this is arguably the most important decision we're going to make, because all of those great things that I'll get up to any podium and brag about with the city of Pensacola, every single one of those doesn't matter if we don't have a safe community. So I said that when I was knocking doors. I've said that for the last 3 years. The bottom line is public safety has an impact on everyone. It's a bipartisan issue. We all want to be safe where we sleep and where our children sleep. So my primary focus is we've got to get the number one thing right, and we got to continue the progression. We have an amazing department here, and we have a safe city here, but we aren't going to rest on our laurels and point back to surveys or polls about safe cities from 4 or 5 years ago. That's one amazing point in time, but we have to continue that progress. And so my message to citizens is we've made the decision, and we have a chief that puts us in the best possible position to continue to make Pensacola a safe community.
Mayor, can you talk about the memo circulating online sent, I guess, to fellow officers within the department? And do you have concerns that, I hate to use the word backlash, but we've been talking about internal versus external candidates. Do you have concerns that that's going to be an issue?
No, I mean, first of all, I think we've made one thing clear in this administration, that we're going to make decision what we believe is the right thing for every citizen in this community, not what the easy thing to do is. And I can give you 10 examples wherever you'd like to start, from stopping and starting recycling that's now 93% clean, from having to close Bay Bluffs Park and be the bearer of bad news because it was the right thing to do. So we've had many moments in this administration where we could make a decision that was easy politically, easy on Facebook, easy on, none of that should matter. The expectation from every resident of the person that is in the job that I'm in is that we make decisions that are what are right for this city, not what is easy for the city or easy for the mayor or easy for someone on staff. So that's why we didn't look at it that way. I don't expect us to have an issue because I know the professionalism that's in that building. This is not a broken product here at the police department, far from it. But we have an opportunity to be the best possible department we can be with Chief Winstrom here. So I'm so proud of this team, and I see every overnight email when something happens. I get to go to every one of these employee recognitions and hear these stories that I may not get to hear, and I'm always so proud. And I tell the officers every time that I'm there that probably the most proud I am is that I get to lead them, and because of the job that they do, the reputation that they have within this community. So I know we've got pros here. I know that Chief Winstrom understands the task in front of him, and I think that statement is important, earning trust. I have to earn trust in every department here. I have to earn trust with 55,000 citizens, and Chief Winstrom will have the same assignment. And his awareness of that, his previous experience with that, I think is certainly valuable into your question. But we got a lot of amazing professionals in the police department. I don't expect that to be an issue.
Off topic, can you talk about the DOGE fine?
Yeah. Well, it hasn't changed our. Yeah. Yeah, I'll take this one, and I'll take as many questions you want on the side. Yes, I've read through the Pensacola section of it. We were not given any, we got it at the same time the public got it, like the last time, but we're not spending a whole lot of time. We spent 655 hours of staff time on it, August 18th and 19th. I think that's plenty. And the reality is, certainly appreciate and respect whatever opinion is conveyed. We obviously contest several of the issues in there. I did see the bridge, the welcome sign was removed from the, I do appreciate that, since that wasn't something that the city paid for. But the bottom line is, we got too many important things. We're bringing a police chief in here. I certainly stand by us being stewards of taxpayer dollars and operating those taxpayer dollars the way you would expect if you were operating a business, that being as efficient as possible and being as smart and getting as big a return on investment as possible. And we've got many ways to share that. So I'm not here going to go politically point for point on different issues throughout the report. They have the right to conduct that report. We gave them everything that they've asked for. I didn't see anything particularly new or different or anything that is any sense of alarm for us. We're going to continue to run the city in the best way that we can and go from there.
Mayor, what do you think about CFO's calculations basing waste on percentage of population growth versus percentage of budget?
I mentioned that in the letter that was sent in response to the initial report. And I think there's two key issues that you have to look at there. Number one is basing the amount of property tax increase on population leaves out a couple important things. Number one is, if you look at the largest property tax revenue generator, it's commercial property. That has nothing to do with residents. If Amazon came and built a $1 billion building here, it would be the single largest property tax purveyor into the city budget. However, no one lives there. So every employee could live somewhere else outside of the city. I would, to maybe further the example, I would be interested to see what Walton County's numbers look like in terms of property tax, average home sale price in 30A being $4.3 million. I would imagine that would be wildly disjointed, not picking on Walton County or Key West, for example, but I think there's many communities within the state of Florida that if you were to simply look at population and say, well, then why is it congruent with the growth in property tax? Well, we need more police. We're a tourist city that has small city limit lines with a busy downtown is going to have a different set of demands than maybe a city with the same population located somewhere else in Florida. So I think the idea of, when you look at, and I don't remember the number offhand, it's in the letter, 1,200 new commercial structures in this same 5-year span certainly feeds the property tax revenue. And secondly, the unique challenges of being a small 21 square mile landmass city that has 55,000 people, but has certainly much more than that and acts much larger than that in many ways, with an airport, a port, and other things, that's going to have a factor as well.
Mayor, off topic, please, but in your discussions with Verdon, Project Maeve, have you talked to them about reaching out to local vendors, local shipbuilders, and others to bring them into this project?
I know they've been having a variety of conversations from where office space is going to be, those types of conversations. I'm not sure. Certainly, I would defer to what their correct timeline of when to engage in those conversations are compared to construction and things like that. But they have 2,000 jobs to fill, which is an amazing opportunity for this city. No doubt about it. An absolutely transformational opportunity for this city. So I have no hesitancy that Verdon is going to want to have as many conversations. They got a lot of jobs to fill and a lot of work to get completed here at the port. So I know they've already engaged relationships with other tenants of the port, for example, and how they can work well together, including American Magic, Offshore Inland, and others. And so I fully expect that to continue. But they certainly would know better when the cadence of those conversations should begin in comparison to when they would produce.
Here. Patty Shipbuilder is a shipbuilder, has had government contracts. Have you mentioned them when you talked to Verdon?
I know they are aware of them. I don't know that I specifically mentioned that to them, but no, and they've been a staple here for a long time. Why wouldn't we? That's only in the best interest of the city, the best interest of employees. If there's a common sense collaboration that can happen between an existing shipbuilder and Burdon, but I would hate to delve into apples to apples or apples to oranges in terms of what each does and what their skill sets or what they're looking for. But if it's a matter, if that's a fit, and I'm happy to play matchmaker to any organization that's coming in to fill 2,000 jobs in the city.
Mayor, so with here, it seems every year, organizers always say how great it would be.
Yeah.
You mentioned a couple months ago that they possibly.
Mhm.
Has there been any movement on that?
Yeah, we had our outside analysts look at it, and it wasn't. Our position with the Grand Hotel has been I am willing to advocate to CRA or otherwise some support of the preservation of the historic train station underneath the hotel, and to just really get it back online. Brent, I get that question all the time. Why don't you just, we aren't, this is the United States. We can't just take someone's property because they've left it empty. They continue to condition the building. We continue to stay in relatively regular conversation with the owner. I know that they're motivated to get it moving. We are certainly willing to play a part in that. I don't know that we're at this moment ready to play the principal financial part in that. And that was really the difference from what was proposed a few months ago. But our desire to do so remains. We are absolutely open minds and open ears on anything that's going to happen. I suspect, this is starting to speculate to the future, I suspect this will be a big part of the conversation around the Bay Center here coming up this spring. And listen, there's certainly, I'd love to have somebody in the building, but if it turns out the timing could actually be better to have maybe a larger conversation about the Bay Center itself and the building across the street, as I discussed this with the city and the county and other partners. When I was in Washington, D.C., actually, I was on a public-private partnership panel, actually, with that Andre Dickens, the mayor of Atlanta, was leading, and I shared my experience of bringing in the public-private partnership workshop that was here to educate our city staff and county staff and others on how to make these possible. There's a lot of general fear that comes with, anxiety that comes with public-private partnership. There's lots of misnomers about that. But the truth is, if you want a large transformational change to happen at the Bay Center, if we merely look at it as here's how many dollars are available from bed tax, then we're short-sighted. So that's me speculating. I don't know what will happen with the Grand Hotel, but I certainly would expect that could be part of a bigger conversation of what happens around the Bay Center as those talks heat up here this spring.
Mayor, speaking of your trip to DC, I guess, did you have any meeting with HUD officials and talk about the Hurricane Sally?
No, we had a meeting scheduled for Friday, and we're rescheduling a Zoom. It was on their end. They had to reschedule. But we are meeting with them. The update I can give you now is we've emptied the Rolodex. We've asked for every favor there is. We've worked diligently in this building, myself personally, David Stafford, and all of our staff, to scratch and claw and fight for some viable solution. I can't give you exactly what that is yet. We're continuing we think there could be some light, which I'm certainly proud of, given the fact that we have an email from last year that says there is a 0.0% chance that you will get an extension, like written out, 0.0% chance you'll get an extension. And we certainly took Florida Commerce's advice, as we mentioned, on that we aren't going to be able to spend those dollars and to move those dollars. So we're looking under every rock that we can find to at least, it certainly will not be 5.8 because of the time frame. But we're fighting. We're talking with our county partners, seeing if there's something they can do. So more to come on that. But between inside conversations with HUD, Florida Commerce, and others that have happened, through several meetings in this process, we're working at it, and we'll have more to report to you soon.
Mayor, I thought Rolodexes were a boomer thing. But,
Yeah, yeah. I think Vince Wibbs left his on the 7th floor now.
on the subject,
I know.
subject of PPV, is Harold Dawson's idea of a community development district in Maritime Park, is that line of thinking still moving? Does it have any traction here in the city?
Yeah, I mean, it ball's in their court, obviously, to get all of that work through. We've really just talked philosophy at this point about would we be willing to entertain that yet? And our answer, as with most things, is sure. We'll listen. We'll hear you out on anything, and then we're going to end up doing the same math you do and figure out if this makes sense for the city. So I know they continue to pursue that. That's ongoing, but there's not anything or any decision on our desk at this point about whether that will or won't happen.
But that would be the key to potentially unlock the garage, structured garage.
Absolutely. I think certainly my intent is to figure out how to, if Parcel 4 happens as proposed or some version of it as proposed, we're going to need at least 350 parking spaces that the city's going to have to provide because we're already providing those now and those have parking obligations. So we'll come up with every inventive, creative way to get that funded. That isn't going to just be coming out of the general fund or coming out of LOST. We have too many demands, higher priority even demands on those dollars. So we got to get creative and certainly agree or disagree. I would back the reputation of this administration that we get creative and we figure out ways to fund things that might take a little extra elbow grease or blood, sweat, and tears, whatever you want to call it. With the grant money we brought in, and or even in the case of Burdon, as an example, a $275 million project that won't have to have any direct financial impact on the city's coffers. So we're very excited for that, and we'll continue to if it makes sense for us, we'll continue to push it forward.
You're a consultant with the Bay Center District.
Uh-huh.
A CDD could be a solution to that. But down in Tampa, the Tampa Bay Rays, Major League Baseball, they're going to create a CDT to build a new stadium over on Dale Mabry. And there's a little bit of a flap that's jumped in there because the CRA down there in Hillsborough is saying that a CDT would compete with it.
Mm-hmm.
That they do the same functions, and it's like who controls the tax tip in a CDD and would that be an issue at the Bay Center in your mind?
Not at this point. Yes, I've heard that the conversation, or we've very loosely talked about whether a CDD would make sense at the Bay Center, but too early to say. I know your familiarity with Tampa with your Tampa hat on right now. Probably too early to say, oh, we definitely want to do this or don't want to do this. I think it needs to be part of the conversation at the Bay Center. If that's, but I think we have bigger ones to have at this point regarding how we leverage the dollars that are available to us as a county, as a city, to fund these repairs, maintenance, or potential new structures. I think we need to land on an aligned game plan first, and then we can start talking about the mechanisms of which
You're
to
still
fund
expecting your consultant report soon.
this month. Yeah. My hope, what we've indicated to the county, is to have a meeting at some point in March, a joint meeting potentially, not dates or all that. And that would certainly run through our city council as well. But the hope is that the report is here before the end of the month, and that we would be able to get that over to county, to council members, digest that for a little bit, and then get back in the room together.
Mayor, is there any update on the Cobb Center situation with employing the council on aging? Any movement there?
Yeah, I mean, listen. Number one, most importantly, is everybody's getting fed, and we continue to initiate that. We've been in direct conversations in my office with leadership at Council on Aging. This is one of those ones that's simple to figure out and can be mildly frustrating. Simple to figure out because we're going to feed people. Period. We're not going to let opinions and personal attitudes and hurt feelings not feed seniors in our community. So I certainly know that Council on Aging and the City of Pensacola are aligned in that mission. And that should be priority 1 through 8 before we get down to way down the list to how do we deal with attitudes and people in personality conflicts. So our team is working actively with them. We all want the same thing. And again, the number one goal that I want everybody to understand in the community is there is no, this all started when someone said, well, someone's not getting fed. That is not the case. Yeah. So that's the only reason this has come up. Now if our biggest problem is trying to work through a personality conflict and make sure we're respectful to everybody, both our longtime city contract employee and certainly their folks that they're going to want to protect and defend and hear their side of the story. I get it. So I don't foresee this to be an issue long-term moving forward. I think we'll get to an amicable place that makes sense for everybody, or at least some amicable procedure and move forward.
I'm sorry, I got one last question for the chief.
He's getting bored up here. So.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
I gotta ask, coming from Grand Rapids, do you have experience covering any kind of severe weather? How would you manage this department in a hurricane?
We get very few hurricanes in the state of Michigan. What we do get is our blizzards and tornadoes. And okay, well, we're good. So 2 of the 3 you can check off. Yes, navigated that, and of course I see the fire chief in the room. We lean heavily on the fire service for a lot of those emergency responses, but police department's going to be an integral role in all of that. So I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Yeah, I know it's a hurricane. We just hope they never come. So
All right.
we'll see what happens.
Okay, thank
And
you.
then one last question for you.
Well, I guess that's to be determined because, as I've said a couple times now, the city's entitled to be policed how it wants to be policed, and so getting out there, meeting the community, even more than I already have, substantially more, meeting as many people as I can, and see what the vision of the city is for policing is going to guide the direction that policing takes in the city, and that's just it. Every community is different. What works in the city of Chicago doesn't work in LA, doesn't work in Grand Rapids, and might not work in Pensacola. So it's going to be tailoring the police department to what the city wants.
Mayor, do we have an update on FDOT, Burger Street?
Not that I have received. I don't want to say that we haven't, that hasn't gone through staff or anything like that. It hasn't reached my desk yet, but we have quite a lengthy punch list of several items at FDOT. So we're due a brief and an update with them across the board. Certainly that is really number one on our list. But there's Sun Trail, there's MLK, the price to reconstruct MLK. Some lighting issues on Bayfront that we got to get sorted out for Sun Trail. So we've got several things to cover with them. So I don't have an update on that today, but certainly can follow up with you. I'd have to check if it's already on the schedule. I've been talking several times with FDOT on a scenic highway outfall issue. That's kind of taken up the oxygen of these conversations because it's pressing time wise. So I don't have an exact date yet, but we can certainly get you one when we're going to meet with them.
One other thing, do we have any progress on the memo with Children's Trust on the child?
Yeah, actually, the latest update yesterday, the lawyers were going back and forth down to the wit's end, and I believe we have sent kind of our this is it situation. So. Trying to consider their red lines and what their expectations are and those matching our expectations. So we should be seeing closure on that particular issue very, very soon.
Mayor, you had asked the public's input on e-bikes.
Uh-huh.
Where to go with e-bikes. Can you give us a summary of what you heard up to now?
Well, it's 50-50. I'm just kidding. That's every issue that I deal with. No. I actually think there's a general consensus. What I've gathered was there's a general consensus about, I don't think anybody's saying, what are you talking about? Having 11 and 12-year-olds on bikes going 30 miles an hour makes total sense. I don't. So I think there's one sense of agreement there. Where the issue is going to lie is what can we enforce? What can our police department enforce that we're not putting them in a difficult situation? Certainly their opinion on this is going to be the number one factor for me, because the last thing I want to do is put a rule out that has zero ability to be enforced or makes it a time suck or a bandwidth from our police department. So I think I'm at this point not trying to overdo it. We remain focused on the Class 3 e-bike situation those 20 to 28 mile an hour or modified. Actually, some could be modified and go even faster. We wouldn't. What I've learned so far is you wouldn't be able to specifically prescribe. You have to have a learner's permit. That would get a little complicated, but you could make the age 15 years old. So that wouldn't guarantee that they have a learner's permit where they know some rules of the road, but at least from an age standpoint, having some identification that says you're that age.
Do you have any data on injuries within the city?
No, not offhand. That all we know is that this is a relatively new thing, and the technology is outpacing our ability to enforce anything. And remember, it's not just the 11 or 12-year-old kid on an e-bike going 30 miles an hour. It's the driver, it's the pedestrian, it's everybody else that could be potentially impacted by someone not really knowing the rules of the road. I don't remember the bill number. I know there is something coming through the state legislature right now. And I know in tandem with that, our city attorney's office is working on moving something forward. But I've been in enough cycles of this. What I imagine is we'll try to get something ready to go, but we're going to be patient and see what the state legislature comes back with, because there's no use of us rushing something that would be preempted or changed by the state government 30 days later. So we will work concurrently alongside the state legislature to figure out what the next step is with e-bikes.
Mayor?
Yeah.
This is it for me. It's maybe both of you can answer this, but legally on the challenges for bringing in a chief from Michigan into Pensacola, do you look at the different statutes? And Chief, you may be able to better answer this. Do you have to kind of retrain yourself at all? Where do you take a step back and say, I'm not in Grand Rapids anymore, I have to follow these new laws, or how much of it's universal?
Well, the heart of a police officer, I'd say, is universal. So I've got that going for me. But otherwise, you're right. There's a licensing process here, just as there was when I left the state of Illinois and went to Michigan. There's some training I'll have to do, and actually a licensing test that I'll have to take before I become officially certified here. Not an insurmountable task, a lot of crossover. So I have no concerns. But you're right. There is some hoops to jump through.
Anything else? All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.